keyboard to the boardroom. This is the Business of Esports year-end show 2020. I'm Paul Dewalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, William Collis. For those of you who are new to the Business of Esports in general, we're a podcast, we're a live stream, we're everything business and gaming. And this, my friends, this is a special episode. It's our year-end episode. It's
bonus episode.
That's
bonus episode.
True, yeah. Bonus. 2020 in review. We're going to look back at 2020. We're going to look forward to 2021. We're still going to dissect. We're still going to analyze everything from a business and C-suite standpoint. It's what we do best here. It's the only thing we do here. And no one else can do it, William. No one can do this kind of show.
No one else has our dynamic, Paul. That's the truth. That's the real secret sauce. That
and
is
success
incredible
and
insight.
knowledge and come on,
all those
and good looks.
Things. Yeah. Well, yeah. You can keep going. I don't know why you stopped. Like I
mean, this is just the unfortunate reality for everyone else. They just can't.
My understanding is there was a long list and you just stopped reading from it. Am I right? Like
this is true. No, but we have so much. You know, it's been a busy year in the world of gaming and esports. We've done, 50 plus podcast episodes. We've done 50 plus live streams. We've done, 30 of my esports, Business of Esports minutes. We do a weekly news roundup every week. Like, there's so much to pull from. And what we try to do here is give you kind of all the year in 1 hour, hopefully, right? Everything sort of crammed together in terms of how we saw 2020, the most important parts of 2020 from a Business of Esports standpoint. And then what to look forward to for 2021. How does that sound, William?
Yeah, and I'm excited for what to look forward to too, because this is always a fun one because we get to call some shots, and then a year from now we get to see where they land. So definitely stay tuned for that, because as great as it is to get the recap on what happened historically, and it's important, I think it's even more important to understand where the industry might be going. And Paul and I are excited to share that because we have some spicy thoughts on that. So
no question. So let's start with some 2020 highlights here, William.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I go first? Or, yeah, you go first. Go.
No, I mean, I think we have a similar list here, which is, I think the one thing that stood out for me in 2020 was Microsoft, right? Microsoft was in the news a lot of announcements, a lot of moves, some good, some I won't say good, some sort of getting into esports, some getting out of esports. It was a confusing year for Microsoft. And so let me just recap, right?
Yeah,
shut down Mixer.
I wanted to call this segment like Microsoft Mix-Up or something, because it's true. Like a lot of the stuff we have is like unequivocally good or bad. Like this was excellent or this. Microsoft is like a weird grab bag. Yeah. It's like you don't know how to score it,
And I think that's why it's sort of an interesting highlight of 2020, which is no one can sort of make sense of what their strategy is. So they shut down Mixer, which is like getting out of gaming and esports.
Yeah.
But then they bought Bethesda, which is getting into gaming and esports. They launched, obviously, the Xbox Series X, which is a big gamble on gaming. They bought Smash.gg, which is sort of getting into esports.
Yeah.
And then they launched the MSN Esports Hub, which probably less important in the grand scheme of things, but it's something that they did.
Yeah.
Right. But why shut down Mixer in the midst of all this? We couldn't figure that out.
It's so weird. It's like every action they took says super bullish on the portfolio, right? And except for, like, if you look at it, it's basically investing into games, consoles, home entertainment, distribution systems, platform businesses with Smash.gg, and then they back out of their biggest platform games bet with Mixer. It's weird. It's weird. And that's why scorecarding Microsoft for this year feels odd, because on the balance, they did so many things that I like. I love that they bought Bethesda. I think I'm going to say more about that later, but I truly love the Bethesda acquisition. I think it's super smart. It's on point. This is too long. Tencent has had free reign, snapping up the best publishers in market. Amazing pickup here for Microsoft. So is that. Smash.gg, great for integrated tournaments, high potential there. Paired with the Content Hub, which I think you just kind of say, whatever, like, I don't really know what that does, but sure, it's a thing, and it's probably not a bad thing, and I don't think anyone's going to be making it their homepage anytime soon, but it at least shows investment and direction. But then you have backing out from basically the single biggest competitor to Twitch in the United States. And that is weird. It's different. It's strange. It speaks to a portfolio reallocation strategy that nothing else happened did. And it's why I kind of put Microsoft as sort of like a wild card and actually a really fun company to watch in 2021, because whatever their strategy is right now, it appears to be heavy in gaming somehow, but it's not quite clear, I would say, what their view on how gaming will evolve would be. Is VR going to become important in their mix? Is live stream services like Stadia become important in their mix? Clearly, they don't think broadcasting is a piece of this they want to own right now, but it'll be a really fun one to watch in 2021, and definitely a big highlight, a lot of activity in 2020 for MS.
So Siskel and Ebert had their thumbs up, William. You know, as the prophet and the professor, I feel like we're going to need something. So for our listeners, our viewers, you guys need to come up with something.
No, we should just do the thumbs up. Like, why can't we vote on the story at the end? Like, we put a thumb up or down and we score it.
Okay, so score Microsoft here. In Microsoft
same
in
time.
2020.
1, 2, 3, ready? Final evaluation.
1, 2,
Microsoft,
3,
thumbs up, thumbs
go.
down.
Yeah, it's a thumbs up from me and a thumbs up from William. But you know why I gave the thumbs up? Because the shutdown of Mixer to me was very stupid. I didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
It's Xbox Game Pass. I think that's the feather in their cap that in 2020 we saw it grow. We saw it, I think they're at 10 million users or something like that. It's a big number already. But I think this is, if I'm skipping ahead to 2021 predictions, I think Xbox Game Pass becomes a big winner in that sort of Netflix for games kind of offering. So,
Huge.
2 thumbs up for Microsoft in 2020.
So Microsoft mixed bag, but in the final evaluation, it passes. We did it. Okay. Next recap. Here we go. Next big moment.
Let's move on. Highlight. Interesting. This one was a more negative highlight of 2020. More obviously negative. I don't think we're going to disagree on this one. ESPN shutting down their esports coverage. Right? ESPN, the biggest name in sports, no question. Traditional sports. They had, it seems, invested quite a bit in talent and time and resources on the esports side. I don't know. What's your take on them shutting down, William?
Such a mistake. Like, it's just, we said it at the time. With the benefit of hindsight, it still feels that way. It's an organization that doesn't see esports as a future for competitive content, which is totally wrong, and all the markers are against them. It puts ESPN in the brand catalog that I would say is at risk for the dustbin of history, right? It's gonna, they believe me, the winds are turning quickly, and not having esports content is going to look pretty silly pretty fast, right? Particularly given who owns ESPN and Disney. And many times I've said I think Disney has a lot of content potential in esports when they decide to activate in that space. And this is another kind of, break in that chain of armor or, integrated value proposition that they would have. Yeah, overall, it's just a pity. And I think we agree it was probably clearly due to cost reasons and constraints driven by the damage to the live sports market. But it hurts. And it hurts, it hurts ESPN more than it hurts esports. It's just fine. We have plenty of great places to go to content. It's not going to damage the industry, but it is sad to see a brand that I have an enormous amount of respect for make a decision that I think really hamstrings their future viability, honestly. But
let's talk about Tencent. I think another 2020 highlight, which is Tencent still on a tear here, right?
Oh.
They still seem to be buying every available game developer in sight. Just to recap, in 2020, and these are just some, right? There's like 10 more things that they did this year, but they bought the developer of Warframe just recently. That was a big acquisition. They put like $100 million in that VSPN company, this Asia sort of more specific esports company. They merged essentially their 2 biggest properties on the streaming side, Huya and Douyu, into, I'm assuming, what is going to be the powerhouse for live streaming in Asia. They continue to make very smart moves. They continue to buy publishers. They continue to solidify their dominance in Asia, and the tentacles in North America. Right?
Trovo, which still hasn't done anything yet, but it's sort of like a landmine waiting to be stepped on by someone. Like, I think at some point that could activate with high potential. It could be a footnote, but it's a launch pad for a credible Twitch competitor in North America. So,
and their Riot property obviously is killing it, right? We're going to see League on mobile in 2021. We're gonna maybe see a Riot MMO. We're gonna right? Like they're firing on all cylinders, even in the properties that they've already acquired, in addition to the continued acquisitions that they're making.
Yeah.
What's your take on Tencent 2020 beyond that, William?
I think, I mean, look, they look so smart, right? Whether or not they're crazy lucky, whether or not buying anything in games is pretty much a good idea, and they were just the first people to figure it out. You can take whatever side of the coin you want, but this has been a banner year for them. I think they've added smart IP to their vault. They've added meaningful, broadcast. They've continued to kind of consolidate and scale the broadcasting side, which I think is down the line going to be the smartest thing they did this year. Although buying that Warframe developer is pretty smart. I think there's just a lot that they can activate with their network. But I'm kind of calling it right now. Like, I think if you really see where Tencent is going, they're sort of a next generation Disney, right? Like, I think it's no accident.
It's an interesting analogy.
Yeah, like it's no accident we put the Tencent story right after ESPN, and we discussed, I touched on that there, right? Like that, if you think of what Disney owns, they own a ton of stuff, right? They own broadcasters, they own content creation hubs, they own publishing houses, right? Like Tencent is more and more starting to look like that for next generation IP, right? And do they own everything? No. But Disney didn't own everything until pretty recently. It takes a long time. Buying everything is a long haul strategy. But these guys have continued to execute that. And yeah, I think the really interesting thing is at some point down the line, will you see them acquiring not just private, and they have done some public acquisitions, but not just private, but will they buy a Nintendo? Something absolutely crazy, right?
Yep.
Because that's when you sort of have the aha moment. You're like, oh, these guys are Disney, right? It's something like that. And I would expect to see, maybe not next year, but in the next couple of years, some sort of what I would call like a mega acquisition in their sites. Because the reality too is just to continue this growth spree that they're on, a lot of the stuff that's available to eat in the more bite-sized range, although these are very large bites, let's be honest, has been eaten now. So we'll have to see what happens. But I'm very excited for Tencent, and always a pleasure to watch them, get the thumbs up from me for their market strategy.
You could fault them, to your point, William, and say it's just because they have so much money, right? Like it's easy. You just go make billion-dollar acquisitions every week, and it's not that hard to be the smartest guy in the room, because some of them pay off.
Some people have privately said that to me, is like, look, make a list of independent game companies you like, try to buy them. You'll probably have done pretty well,
But to me, that is the genius, right? And I've often said, as an investor, people have pitched me their game development companies many, many times, right? I get these pitches all the time. And my comment to them always is, I'm not going to make one bet, right? Like that doesn't work. I can't bet on your, card game. I can't bet on your action game. Like that in isolation doesn't work. The only way to bet on games, because they're hit driven, because they're kind of like movies or theater, like Broadway theater shows from an investment standpoint, right? That you have to bet as a portfolio. You have to buy a lot, because the one or two that hit really big, and it doesn't sort of matter what the others do at that point. And so I think all they've done really, and you can't fault them for this at all, it's very smart, is they've just followed really good portfolio strategy around buying game developers.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
and not all great strategies have to be incredibly complex.
Yeah,
like that's a myth too. Like not all strategies. Well, we're gonna Trojan horse the U.S. entertainment, the U.S. live streaming market, but really our aim is to get package delivery and like simple strategies are really good. In fact, simple strategies are better if they're effective and simple. They're easy to communicate and they're easy to execute. And the big reason why Tencent gets the gold stars in the book is not the strategy. It's a good strategy, not a strategy. It's that they execute it. They consistently, and it's thematic. If you go back to our 2019 podcast, they were executing, right? Like that's a good strategy, one that you follow, right? The best strategies actually have to play out, and they're playing it out. And again, I have huge respect for Tencent and super excited to see 2021 and what's basically left for them to pick up.
Yeah, same for me. Big thumbs up for Tencent. And 2021 will be interesting to watch. So especially, I think, to your point, William, Trovo, that's going to be I'm curious to see what they do with that in 2021.
I give it a 90% chance nothing happens, and a 10% chance it's the most explosive news story of 2021.
Interesting.
But it's just interesting. But I suspect that's a little probably what they're thinking too. I think they're probably thinking, let's see, let's investigate, let's learn the market. But like, they have a massive streaming platform play in Asia. It's not hard, and maybe it's not Trovo, maybe it's Douyu or whatever. But I truly think the streaming wars, Mixer basically shutting down, or we shouldn't say shutting down, going to Facebook, right? But Mixer effectively bowing out are not the end of the streaming wars. They're just they're like a pause in the battle lines, right? And I very much expect the streaming wars to continue in 2021 and beyond. And I very much expect Tencent to play a major role in it.
Let's talk about VR, because there was a sort of a very hyped announcement in 2020, right? Like, everyone was looking forward to Half-Life Alyx. It was going to be the VR game, right? Like the killer app for VR, a new Half-Life game. Like, it had everything going for it. This is a feeling. I feel like it didn't live up to all that hype. And is VR still left without a killer app? To me, that's kind of like one of the highlights of 2020. We have better hardware than ever. The Quest and Quest 2 are amazing, incredible hardware, right? The best we've ever had. But where's the killer app for VR, right? That's still
consistently have good games for VR now too. I'd point out, like, we also had Squadrons, right? Star Wars Squadrons, which I think is an excellent VR title, right? That also came out after. Again, not a killer app, but like it's also not like in the early days of VR there were like 2 or 3 good. Now there's actually a content library. There's a lot. Yeah, we're still, and I had called this one wrong. I thought Half-Life Alyx was the watershed moment. I was ready. That Half-Life to me signals generation transition, right? Like, Half-Life 1 was the moment immersive narrative came into gaming, right? Half-Life 2 was the moment we got Steam. I expected Half-Life 2.5 was the moment we got VR, and it's a very good VR game. I really enjoyed it. But to me, as good as it is, it did make me realize that until we solve the mobility problem in VR, it's not ready for prime time. I still think it is too disorienting to navigate VR worlds without being able to walk around in real space. And I think once we get that point, a lot will change. And we're just not quite there yet. We still don't have a good design that works with limited space. And candidly, things like tethering are still a really distracting pain. And as good as the Quest is, the fanciest, most sophisticated games, you have to play tethered. So we'll see what happens, but it's close. Again, I hope 2021 is the year of VR. I am ready. I'm looking at my Quest headset right now. I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like, here I am, make it happen. But we're not quite there yet. But when we get there, we'll be there very quickly, because unlike at launch, the hardware is up to snuff. The experience, when it's good, is very good. We're on the precipice. So
yeah, I give VR in 2020 a thumbs up on my end, though. Even though the Half-Life Alyx didn't live up to expectations, the hardware is just getting so good. Like, my brain is fooled. My brain is fooled. Maybe not my body, but my brain is fooled at this point.
I'm comfortable giving it a thumbs down, because I only care, and I believe I'm right about this, Paul. It's not about what the hardware can. It's not about how great the hardware is. It's about what you can do with the hardware. And I still don't. And I think the market agrees with me. We still don't have the must-play mass adoption game that's totally changed, that's made VR go from, like a cool thing that really techie early adopter, leading edge gamers do, into like the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, the data sort of disagrees with you a little bit. Like, Facebook and Oculus can't keep the Quest and Quest 2 in stock, right?
I
Like,
know.
It's much more mainstream than it used to be. We've made huge strides in terms of hardware and untethered experiences. Like,
I know the numbers
in
good,
the
but the zeitgeist agrees with me, Paul. And let's be honest, the Quest 2 just had a big. Was it Quest 2 that came out this year, like recently?
Yeah, but when we look back at the life of, like, the day we have holodecks, right?
Yep.
Or Ready Player One style VR, we're going to look back at the history of the development, right? Someone's going to do a documentary on how holodecks came to be, right? And I guarantee you they will point to 2020 as one of those watershed moments where untethered VR became perfectly good to fool your brain, right? Like, that this was one of those key hardware milestones that we need to get to the killer app that I agree is the sort of the tipping point But the hardware innovation needs to happen first, and we're seeing businesses like Oculus push that forward.
Well,
and so
ready.
it gets that.
I'm waiting, and I'm excited. All right. Next topic.
The other 2020 highlight that I had on my list here was a lot of public market excitement around gaming. Unity going public, right? Roblox filing their S1. They were supposed to go public in 2020, but they've pushed it back to 2021. But we're seeing not only huge excitement, but huge valuations, right? Unity is trading at crazy valuation, like massive valuations. And so this is sort of a combo highlight. It's gaming companies going public, but then also gaming companies raising lots of money. I mean, Discord raised 100 million in July, raised another 100 million just a few days ago. The amount of dollars flowing into gaming opportunities finally, I think, is matching the hype, right? It's not just hype now. There's real serious dollars behind all this.
Yeah, but the flip side is I view the capital flows here as a consequence of like the market is living up to its potential. Like this is one of the reasons why I'm happy to be alive at this time. You know, it's just nice. Like I grew up when, and I think you did too, right? I think we grew up when gaming was getting popular, but like it was still a little bit of a footnote. You know what I mean? It was still
you
like
didn't tell your friends about your gaming habits. I didn't.
Yeah, I did, but it was not like it wasn't a thing to be proud of. It wasn't mainstream, right? Like, you know, it was like we grew
girls
up,
weren't impressed.
Yes,
that I
girls,
played
not now.
games in my basement on Friday and Saturday, and I was really good at Quake 3. Like,
no one cared about my Age of Empires LAN parties. No one was going to let that happen. But it was a moment where it was but I think because we fell in love with games, we knew what they could do, the potential, and the market has realized it now. Like the numbers for the size of the gaming industry are just humongous. I mean, what is it like? I was literally looking at an article before this. Is it like over 150 billion, I want to say, or something, if you put it all in?
I guarantee it's underreported too. Like they just, the way, this is almost like a 2020 highlight too, which is the reporting of the size of any of these markets is all over the place. Like no one has any clue, it seems, how big esports is, how big gaming is, you know, what should go into each bucket. You know, the whole $1 billion number. I mean, that's, you know, I hope if my hope for 2021 is we never see that bogus number ever again.
I don't like it. And I look in the book, I say it's 27 billion. And I wrote a research paper saying it's 25. The difference, by the way, is just I count some different things in the book that I don't in the research paper. But yeah, I'm a huge believer that the markets are massively underreported. And I think the bottom line is, I also sort of agree with you, Paul. Who cares what's in the numbers? Just look at look at what's happening. Games will take over everything. They are virtual worlds. Like that is where we are going as a society. I don't know how fast we're going to get there, but like the trend it's inevitable and inexorable, right? So,
but the beauty of I think this 2020 highlight is the public markets are catching on, and this was critical from an industry standpoint for future success, right? And you need institutional investors. You need the clients of Goldman Sachs. You need all these people, right, with very, very deep pockets to not only get gaming, but get religion about gaming, right? Yeah. To really understand what's going on, get excited about it, and be willing to put dollars behind it, and start seeing some really smart money flowing into the space, right? Not just, you know, rapper XYZ, but also, you know, big institutional capital coming into the space. This again is one of those things we'll look back at 2020 and go, wow, right? The Unity IPO, the Roblox S1, like this was a real inflection point for the industry.
I'm excited. Yeah. Do we have any more? I have one more highlight.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you done with your list?
Yeah, for the highlights. Yeah.
The other one we have to do is just a highlight, and it's a low light, but we have to have it as Cyberpunk, right?
Well, no, hold on. You're jumping ahead.
Oh, am I jumping ahead? I have that as okay. Sorry. I had that on my okay. So, guys, for you listeners, we actually do prepare the podcast. That's what you're seeing here. But there actually is like prep ahead of time. So, okay, I'm jumping ahead. Okay, let's go. Go on to the next thing then. I'll get to that in a moment. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the next segment. Really is sort of a an extension of the 2020 highlights. It's mostly, I'm curious, William, what was your favorite moment of 2020? Like, if you had to pick one thing that stood out for you in 2020, you'll look back and think that was, and it's hard, right? Because any of these highlights that we talked about could be it. There's other moments that could be it.
A lot.
Go back and listen to all 52 episodes of the podcast, right?
Read our back catalog. But honestly, in the end, the one I pick is a selfish pick, but it's because I love the games that the company makes. It's got to be Bethesda getting acquired by Microsoft for me personally, because I think it's a massive, it shows other businesses taking on a Tencent style strategy, right? Which I like. I think it's going to unlock a lot more consolidation in the industry. But I also think it's just really great outcome for both Microsoft and Bethesda. I think it's going to give Bethesda more resources, more distribution, and it's going to give Microsoft kind of a missing foothold in their portfolio with like really deep RPG content. And I think as a result of that, you're going to see new things like the Mass Effect game, the new Mass Effect that's been teased. I think you're going to see those taken to really new levels. And you're going to see properties that I'm a huge, huge fan of, like Dragon Age, for example, get even more of the limelight and respect they deserve through things like Game Pass. Which, again, they have been these games have been offered through before, but like the partnership with Microsoft is going to have such a funnel effect for amplifying these properties. If you're somebody like me who loves RPGs and who's respected what those developers have made for a long time, this is like the best news for you. And I have to pick that as my highlight. It's not maybe the most impactful business thing that happened, but for me personally, it's the most impactful, I think it's gonna be the most impactful in my own gaming life. Let's put it that way.
Can I add one more to your list? Not on my list. I'm adding a second one to your list.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Favorite moment of 20. The release of the Book of Esports.
Yeah, I can't pick selfish things.
I know you can't, but I can pick it for you.
Me. You're right. You can pick it for me.
No, but truly, interesting, sort of great moment of 2020 in the business of gaming and business of esports, because fundamentally, I feel like the book lays the groundwork, right? The history, the frameworks. It is really the 101 on sort of the gaming industry, the esports industry, and I think we'll go down as such. We'll go down as kind of the de facto historical, kind of piece of writing on the esports industry.
You never want to believe in your own work too much, but you always do, right? That's the nature of writing things, I think. But yeah, I look, and for me, the most exciting part about the book is how much it's been adopted for classroom use in colleges and universities. Because, it's one thing. Because
you forced me to use it.
Yeah, because I forced you to use it, and I forced everyone. But no, it's one thing for the book to sell well, but it's another thing for it to start to be the foundation of how we create curricula and talk about the space. And I don't know, it's like if you're an economics student, everyone reads ManQ, right? It's just the thing that you do. And I don't know, it's kind of nice. I don't know if the book is going to get there, if it will ever be there, but at least to have a shot that, Collis is a default book in the library of gaming and esports, as it's really, because that's going to be a whole separate thing, is the adoption at colleges and, ramping up this. It's really wonderful. And I put a lot of work into it. So anytime people give it a good review on Amazon or anything, it feels really nice. So yeah, definite highlight for me, but I was too humble to say it. So thank you, Paul. Your highlights.
My favorite moment. Look, any of the highlights we talked about could have been my favorite moment. They were all really important moments of 2020. The one that you jumped the gun, but that I wanted to sort of save for my favorite moment was really the whole cyberpunk, cyberflunk, kind of phenomenon here, where, everyone anticipated this game, 7 years in development. The stock price had shot up, 1,000% or whatever it was over the last 5 years.
It was 2x, but yeah, it went from 15 to 30. But yeah, it was a huge, for a studio that had made 2 games, it was a ridiculous increase.
And a huge market cap.
Yeah.
For a game that
Ubisoft. It was bigger than Ubisoft at one point, I believe, right?
Right, for a studio that had basically made one, that had one piece of IP, which is The Witcher.
Arguably, you don't own the underlying thing too. It's still novels that are owned by that weird. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
But I pick it because, I mean, I was so right about it. I knew there was no game that was going to live up to this hype. But I'm happy. I'm also, and this sounds bad, but bear with me for a second. I'm happy that it flopped because it brings up a host of other conversations around the business of gaming, which is like pre-orders before a game has been reviewed, dealing with returns of digital goods, you know, the whole hype cycle around games and this being a hit-driven business, right? Like, will people get hyped about their next game as much? Probably not, right? Like, there's all these conversations which we have over and over in other contexts that Cyberpunk simultaneously brought all together. And I also think the direction of Cyberpunk from a business standpoint is wrong for the gaming industry, right? I'm a big advocate. It's why I don't like mobile. I mean, I agree mobile is huge, but I don't like mobile as the future of gaming, because for me, this is about getting more and more immersion, increasing amounts of immersion. VR is the future. Holodecks is the future. And this sort of adventure game on rails that is Cyberpunk is just such a cheap experience in comparison. We might as well just watch movies, right? Well, let's not even call this a game. And so I like the conversations it created in 2020.
You know, it's interesting you mention that, because it is true, right? That I think playing a game like Cyberpunk shows you how far the medium of games has come in 7 years, right? Because essentially, like, you know, when game storytelling started, right, it was essentially like, guess the intent of the designer, right? Like, what is the designer? Like think back to the classic Sierra adventure games. The good ones didn't feel this way, but a lot of them are like, you have a rubber band, a hammer, and like 3 marbles. What order does the designer want you to click them on to open the secret door? You know, and storytelling by extension was very directed as well. It was essentially, you play some game, then there's some story. Then you play some game, then there's some story. And over time, we've really come to this place where not only have stories gotten interactive, but, and again, I really go back to Bloodborne and some of the Miyazaki games, like, they've actually started to really integrate gameplay and discovery into the immersion of the worlds and the storytelling. And we haven't figured it out yet, but we're learning how to tell an interactive story in a way that's different from novels and movies. And Cyberpunk is not that. Cyberpunk is very much, we have a story, you're getting it. You can experience it in slightly different orders, and you can maybe be slightly meaner or nicer, but it's our story, and you're just, you know, sculpting it along the edges. Like, the river is flowing to the sea, and you can pick which bank you're on. That's what it feels like. And I agree. I think we're past that as an industry. And I think it shows you that, you know, for a 7-year development cycle, what you miss. And I think better storytelling integration is part of what got missed in that game. And I'm hopeful it's something that doesn't get missed in CD Projekt's next releases and for the industry as a whole. So
it has so many lessons for so many people, right? For gamers, it's don't get so hyped. Don't pre-order games. Don't, right? Like, if something takes 7 years, have a bit of critical eye on things, right? For other game developers, it's like these adventure games on rails don't work, so, you know, do something else. For investors, it's don't bet on one game company, right? The chance that the game is a flop is high, right? You need a portfolio of game companies if you're going to bet it. Like, there's just a lot of lessons for every different group. And it's going to create conversation in 2021 around game returns, refunds. Like, already we're seeing the mess around that, people wanting their money back. I kind of love the chaos it has created because there's so many good lessons learned in failure, right? And it is the biggest failure of 2020, as it should be. It's a horrible game. And people learn from failure, hopefully. Half
the value of the company wiped out. This is about what it lost looking at the stock price. So.
It probably should have lost more now that I played the game, but you know.
So okay, so 2020 wrap aside, now we get to look forward to 2021. This is my favorite part, and we get to call our shots for the next year. Am I right? Is that what we get to do now?
Yes. I don't know why you're doing my segues, but yeah.
I don't know, because I want to do it. I'm like excited. I want to do. My prediction number 1: I will do more segues in the podcast.
So we did our takeaways from 2020. We did our favorite moments of 2020. Now is the time to move to 2021. I know you have a bunch of predictions, William. Let's hear them.
Okay, so I gotta, let me call. Okay, here we go. So my predictions for this. So first, I want to call out a couple things that I see happening. So I think I have 4 major trends for what's going to happen.
And I think we have some overlap and some sort of different ones between us, but yeah.
But you'll hear them from me first. So no, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the first is the capital bumps we've seen into the industry are going to continue in 2021 and beyond. And I think that's going to be, year of IPOs, year of large funding rounds, whatever you want to call it. But there is a lot more next year than there was this year. Obviously, we have stuff we know about, like Roblox is going to actually IPO next year, ostensibly, right? That's going to be huge. But there are other IPOs or public offerings I would expect or hope there would be some, that would be brewing. A good example is Unreal Epic, right? Look, you've seen what Unity can do when it's in market. How do you not look at that and say, maybe we need to come into the space as well? Another example I would have here is Discord. It's raised tons and tons of capital. It's getting to the point where the valuations are large enough, the investors have to be looking to consider moving this into the markets. And those, again, those could happen, those could not, but I think they're emblematic of large public events that I think are teetering on the horizon. And I think you're going to see, just as gaming becomes bigger and bigger, it should naturally be a larger share of NASDAQ, Fortune 500, whatever. And you're going to start to see these, the public markets as a vehicle to, as part of gaming getting there. So that's my first prediction. My second prediction is 2021 is going to be the year of live events for esports, right? I think we talked about that study that said 77% of gamers want to go to a live event. I think there's massive pent-up demand for community. I think the pandemic, has piqued interest in gaming, but prevented people from making the meaningful connections that drive gaming in many ways. And I think that as we roll into 2021, it's not just going to be like delayed championships for all sorts of games that couldn't happen in 2020. They're going to sneak their, world championships or their season openers or whatever into 2021. It's actually going to be just across the board. Gaming as part of its continue to move, and esports as part of its movement mainstream. It's going to be moving on to Main Street. Oh, I like that. Soundbite that. Mainstream to Main Street. And I think you're going to be stunned at the attendance numbers you see for live events. I think you're going to be stunned at, if you're listening and you've never attended a live event, I think you're going to discover you're attending something live, whether it's a local tournament at a LAN center or the League of Legends finals. But I think that's a big theme for 2021 for me. Shall I do my other two, or do you want to pause here and beat me up?
No, I can do both. You want to keep going? I have notes in terms of beating you up, but I can.
Let me finish my other two then, and then okay. You can tear them apart.
It's not really beating up. It was more because I actually agree with both of them. It's more just refinements on both.
Okay. Well, then let's do your refinements, and then I'll do mine.
Because as the prophet, I see things more clearly, William. Right? I take your prediction and I refine it a little bit.
Yes. Okay, refine my IPO.
The IPO thing, obviously, I 100% agree. It was on my list too. I think we're going to see way more public market money coming in huge dollar amounts. Where the valuations we're seeing today are going to seem small and paltry in comparison. The only refinement I would make is I'm skeptical that Epic will go public if they don't settle the Apple lawsuit first. I don't think they will get a big public valuation with a lawsuit hanging over their head. And I think they know that, and they'll have to get that out of the way somehow, even just from a distraction standpoint. But it just has a whole negative smear on the company that when you're trying to go public, it's the first question every investor is going to ask, right? It's what's going on with Apple, right?
I totally agree with you. And it was just an example of something that could, I agree. I think it's probably one. But also, by the way, I think regardless of that needing to get cleared for them to have a line to the public markets, it's got to be the number one priority in that business right now, because the cloud hanging over everything. So I would hope whatever Epic and Unreal do in 2021, they get that behind them. It's actually,
by the way, that's like a good 2020 moment, which we didn't even talk about, but like the whole Epic Apple fight.
With the
hold on, let me just ask you this: 2021 prediction related to your Epic IPO and the IPO market in general.
I should say not necessarily Epic specifically. That was just an example. I feel strongly.
I mean, does Epic and Apple make nice in 2021?
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, done.
You think that gets settled?
Let's put it this way. The only reason Epic and Apple don't make nice in 2021 is because Apple doesn't want to make nice with Epic. I really believe that.
I really hope they don't in 2021 make nice. I really hope they continue to push Epic around for even having attempted this.
I honestly think that like Epic is going to have to resolve it in 2021. Apple may not let it resolve for the signaling value in the market. And I don't know enough about Apple and their strategy and how hard they defend the walled garden to know what they would decide there. I don't think it is by any means certain it's resolved in 2021 at all, because I see very clear incentives on the Apple side to not resolve it. But I would expect it's resolved. I would expect it's resolved. The question is, how unfavorably does it resolve for Epic? Here's
my surefire prediction in that camp. Lawyers on both sides will make a lot of money in 2021.
There you go.
There you go. And the only other refinement I had was on the live events, William, which is, I agree with you. There's tons of pent up demand, right? People are going to go nuts as soon as the vaccine is widespread, the whole bit, like nuts in general. Clubs, bars, restaurants, live events, you name it. But I feel like esports live events in 2021 will still, even with all that demand, pent up demand, will still struggle to monetize. That I think fundamentally the whole live event business is harder to make profitable than people realize. It's a tough business. It's like selling hoodies is a tough business, just sort of naturally. They're low margin businesses.
I'm not sure I agree with you there, but I think either way, like the trend is towards them monetizing, right? I think we can disagree about how fast it is, what happens, but I really think, and maybe it's not events, maybe it's in-person gaming or gaming communities or community hubs. That might be how I'd refine it, because I don't necessarily think, and I should have been clear in my prediction, it's not like I'm going to see the Dota Invitational. It's not that. I think a lot of what I call live events is going to be like, I'm going to go meet up with my friends and play games. Either at a LAN center or just at my house, right? I think, I said, it's like, it's gaming comes to Main Street would be my, my prediction.
Yeah. Sorry, continue with your prediction.
Yeah, two more predictions. Hold on, I got to get them. Okay, so next is the return of persistent worlds. I think that we had a real blip with World of Warcraft where like it ushered in this moment of like live Second Life, go crazy, where, I mean, you remember like literally every month there was a new MMO coming to market. It was Warhammer Online, then it was EverQuest 2. I mean, it was just like, it was like literally, and nobody could dethrone World of Warcraft. And as a result, that kind of cooled what I would call the persistent world market. I think now with Roblox and the metaverse and what's happening, you're going to see that market heat up massively. And there was even a tweet, right, from Riot Games that seemed to allude they were working on an MMO that I think has, hit the market and everything. And I expect you're going to see the return of MMOs in 2021 in a big way, or an evolution of MMOs, which I would call persistent world experiences or PoEs or something, or PWEs or whatever. I can work on the name for it. I'm still playing with it. But I think we're going to see that as a major trend. And I am super excited because as much as I love World of Warcraft, I need it to be updated. And the rollback to Classic was not what I wanted. I want World of StarCraft. I've said that many times. I want it to be new. I want it to have modern, and I want it to have active time rolling. Please, active time rolling and dodging. Please, World of Warcraft. It feels so dated not having that. And, like this, I think you're going to start to see that ice thaw and crack in 2021 in a big way.
I love the prediction. I also agree. I think World of Warcraft even today is probably still the best game out in the market, which is sad. And I think even in your book, William, you sort of say nothing can dethrone World of Warcraft because of the network effects and all these other things. If anyone can, it's a Riot MMO, right? That could be quite earth-shattering in the MMO market. And I've always said MMOs really are the best games, right? Like a great MMO will suck you in, immerse you in ways that no other game can. If Riot, I don't think Riot's going to pull it off in 2021. I think it's probably more like a 2022 or 2023 kind of prediction. But if Riot has the established player base, they have the IP, they have the lore to pull it off, if they really sort of put the time and effort into it. What's more interesting for me from a 2021 prediction is now that this information is out, right? Yeah. Now that the rumor is out that Riot's working on an MMO, assuming it's true, does Activision Blizzard have a response? Because another World of Warcraft expansion's not a response. And I think Bobby Kotick could not care less about making new games anymore. This is about milking the cash cow.
Right there, though, right there is why I think it's the year of MMOs in 2021, because they don't have to launch to dominate. And to be clear, I do not think the Riot MMO is launching in 2021. Like, no way. I don't even think it's going to out in 2022, but like, they don't have to launch to dominate the conversation. And I can tell you this, the reason why Activision acquired Blizzard was World of Warcraft, right? That was pretty much the reason. That is crown jewels, that gets defended. So the very fact that somebody else is coming into the space is going to prompt defensive action, right? In a major way. And the very fact that you have Activision Blizzard and Riot active in the space is going to mean other people are going to have to be active in the space. The other publishers are going to look and say, hey, looks like that door is open again. Maybe I want to throw my hat into the ring, right? Maybe it's a Warframe MMO and Tencent creates its own competitor to that. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, Warframe's effectively an MMO already, right? Maybe it's like the big Warframe 2.0. But the point is, it's those conversations are going to happen. And from before, the whole MMO dialogue we had is, when is the new WoW expansion getting? And how many copies is it going to sell to the entrenched user base? Now we are going to have discussions about what is next in persistent world gaming and who's shaping it. And that's going to be very important. And there's going to be real legacy for that in 2021 and beyond.
Go ahead. I like it.
All right. My last prediction is very simple, but it's something I like. It's the beginning of esports and games in general, or esports though, as true entertainment properties, right? Yeah. Like, we started to see this in 2020 with like The Witcher being a huge success, right? You know what I mean? On Netflix. We didn't see it with Monster Hunter, blowing apart the theaters. But
you love picking on that.
Why would you just not? Because it drives me the craziest when you have a great underlying property and you're like, oh, let's tell a completely unrelated story. Like the Alone in the Dark movie. Does anyone remember that? It's just like, the title's the same. People won't know the difference. Like, it would be like adopting Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami and having it be like a whimsical Days of Our Lives sitcom. Like, it's just not what, like, you can have to say anyway. But
3 people got that reference, but okay.
Yeah. Hey,
that is my prediction for 2021. William will continue to make references that only 3 people get.
2, 3. Kafka on the Shore is an incredibly well-selling book. My belief is that because of some of the moves we saw at the end of 2021, the Riot Entertainment hire, they had a major hire from the entertainment world, the rumors around Netflix getting into gaming, 2021 is going to be the year where we see the line blur between the video, TV, movie content platform play and the gaming play in a really substantial way. Because rather than just having the properties cross over, you're going to have the same people making and shepherding both. And that really fits into, I think, the long-term trend here, which is the Disneyfication of gaming as the properties cross over into true pan-media brands. But I think 2021 is going to be the year when that gasoline is poured on the fire because you clearly have 2 major movers and shakers looking at this. And I would be amazed if you got out of 2021 without either Netflix doing something big in gaming or Riot doing something big in a streamed entertainment play. And that will be the start of the ice cracking for like I said, the Disneyfication of esports and gaming.
I can't argue there. I mean, that one I wholeheartedly agree with. It was on my list. I think that one is absolutely 2021. We're going to see that accelerate big time.
I love it. So what are your predictions, Paul? We shared a lot, I think, but you have to have ones you can add to this.
Yeah, I want to hit on some oldies, but some goodies, there's ones that I get asked about a lot. Stadia, for example, right? Like, I'm obviously Stadia's biggest fan. And I think Stadia lives through 2021. People ask me, is 2021 the end of the road for Stadia? I think it lives through 2021, but it's on very serious life support. Like, it's got machines breathing for it in 2021. And I think 2022 is the year that Google gives up on it. So 2021, it will survive. Cyberpunk was a big opportunity for it because Cyberpunk was a big flop. Stadia will continue to have, I don't know, the last numbers I saw, like 15,000 users or something very, very small like that. It will have a very, very small niche, for some reason, hardcore, crowd that is devoted to it. But it will not be big enough by 2022 for Google to continue funding it. And I think it goes away. The other one I get asked about a lot is Fortnite Esports. And my line there has not changed since literally 2018 when I made the prediction. The first time, Fortnite Esports will not be a thing, will never be a thing. Epic has pulled back. They canceled all the live events for 2021. Fortnite Esports guys are dead, okay? You can stop asking me about Fortnite Esports. They don't exist. They're dead. No one's competing in Fortnite Esports. There will be a few tournaments online for prize money, but those are marketing stunts. This is not true esports. And so
I hold out hope that it's different. I really do. I think Epic might need to look for other places to entrench if they can entrench in mobile, right? And I think you'd be surprised when you realize you have a PC only game, how quickly esports looks important in your portfolio again. But we'll wait and see. I might disagree.
2021's not the year Fortnite Esports makes a comeback, in my opinion. It never does.
Let's see what I'm not predicting against it, but I'm not going to endorse that prediction. I see it more on the. We'll see.
Fortnite also doesn't have it doesn't have the mind share or the converse. Like, it's not in the air anymore, right? Like, Fortnite doesn't have that buzz anymore that it used to. It's lost that, and so it's on this sort of long, slow decline. Very slow and very long. And it will be profitable for a very long time, probably. But it's on this long, slow decline. And once you're on that track, it's really hard to get off of. You see this in all kinds of businesses, but it's really hard to get off that decline.
It is true. Everybody I talk to in the industry says, you can change the derivative of your line, but you can't change the sign of it, right? It's very hard to. All right. Okay, got it.
Let's stay on the theme of sort of people in trouble for 2021. Overwatch League. This will be the biggest dumpster fire of 2021. There's no way Blizzard has anything good enough in Overwatch 2. Overwatch 2 will not live up to any amount of expectations because Blizzard doesn't make good games anymore. And so Overwatch League, I'm not saying we'll shut down in 2021, but it is going to be a complete disaster. But the owners on Twitter will still be very enthusiastic about it because they have to be, which is unfortunate. It just makes them look silly.
You have to go over all your favorite. This is like Paul's mixtape.
Well, I have to touch on them because I get asked about it. Here's where I think there will be big winners, though. Hardware related to gaming and esports. Not enough people talking about this. I mean, it gets talked about in the tech side, but not on the gaming side. NVIDIA, AMD, Corsair, HyperX, all these companies operating on the hardware side are going to have banner years in 2021. They're having banner years in 2020. No one can literally keep anything in stock. It will continue in 2021. And we're going to see, at least the public companies like NVIDIA, their stock continue to go up. And there's going to be a lot, really big winners in hardware in 2021. I mentioned, you talked about the Riot MMO. I'll add Riot Mobile. Riot's going to have a big 2021 year, I think. Valorant will do better than at least I expected originally, I think.
I think Valorant has outperformed what I had anticipated for Valorant.
And League on mobile is going to be a big boost, especially with Fortnite not on mobile. So Riot's going to have a big year. I will say my last two, and these are both short. One is sort of agreeing with you, William, but I'll expand it. The entertainmentification of gaming, right? But I will just summarize it more, maybe more, in a nicer way. Content's going to be king in 2021. In other words, the game companies have to be doing content. There's literally virtually unlimited demand for content on every front. The business of esports is kind of a perfect example of this. Like, the growth has been exponential. And so content, more of it in more places, more niches, people doing content cost effectively. Like, then content that doesn't work, but cost effective content that is produced cost effectively and is high quality and has a niche is going to be massive in 2021. Prediction, my last two predictions, sorry, they're together though. Business of Esports will launch a book of their own in 2021, which will be a landmark of its own. And finally, the Business of Esports in general, and the parent company of Business of Esports, which none of our listeners are really aware of, will be one of probably the fastest growing company in the whole industry in 2021, just based on what we have planned, what's in the pipe. And I'm not saying our merch was going to outsell 100 Thieves, but the businesses we are building and how profitable they will be are all going to be huge for 2021. So that's what you missed, William, that the parent company of Business of Esports is going to be the fastest growing company and the most profitable company in the whole industry in 2021. So,
well, I love
predictions that I have complete control over, because it's just so easy to be right.
Yeah.
And this podcast will continue to be the official podcast of esports, the most important one to listen to, the only one that does real discussion around Business of Esports, that isn't journalism, that isn't like I've got a degree in social work and I play some games. Like, this is the only place you come to if you want people who've actually built successful businesses talking about the business of gaming, who understand all sides of it. And that will not change. So 2021 will be a banner year for us, William.
And I can say that our banter, Paul, will continue to be as engaging as ever. So, that is my last prediction and my promise. If you've enjoyed tuning in 2020, 2021 is going to be a lot more of this, and hopefully even better. But either way, the professor and the prophet will be there. We will be reporting, we will be sharing, we will be delivering insight and, hopefully, predictions and prophecy for how the space is going to evolve. And we look forward to doing all of that with you. So here's to a huge 2021 and beyond, Paul.
I hope you guys enjoyed the recap of 2020. Think about those predictions and come back to us. Let us know what you think, right? As you listen to this, if you agree, you disagree, pick a side, team prophet, team professor. I want to go into 2021 with you guys energized about what's coming down the pipe, with you guys excited about the content we're going to do for next year, but also have everyone involved, right? The live stream is a great place to come get involved, but it's so easy to comment on the podcast and just send us questions or whatever else. 2021 is going to be the year of our viewers, really, that viewer and that fan base becoming a much, much bigger part of this community. So thank you guys. Thank you for a great 2020. William, thank you. Yeah, I couldn't do this without you. Thank you as always. I can't wait to see you guys in 2021.
Thank you, Paul. Huge 2021. Here we go.